Hello everybody. So today we're going to talk about literal equations, and we're going to have a bunch of formula stuff in here. So people get kind of freaked out about literal equations. All literal equation is an equation that has more than one variable. So like 5x plus 2y equals 7 is a literal equation. It's got two variables. It's got an x and a y. Okay? So the thing is, with literal equations, you can solve them for any one of the variables. Now this one here isn't solved for either of the variables, but we could solve it. So let's look at one that we're going to solve here. So this is an ellipse. Okay, an ellipse has two axes. It's kind of like think of, the diameter of a circle, except the diameter of a circle is the same all the way around. Well, you have a major axis that goes this way. It's the long one, and a minor axis is the short one here. And they meet each other in the middle. They're perpendicular bisectors, so that's a 90-degree angle. And this is equal to this, and this is equal to this, okay? So the area of an ellipse is given by the formula A equals pi times AB, where A and B are the half lengths of the major and minor axes. So a half length is the distance from here to here, okay? So solve the formula for the variable a. That's the first thing we're going to do. So we've got, and notice it says little a, because we've got two a's here. We've got a capital A and a little a. So if we're going to take a, capital A equals pi times AB, we want to solve for little a. This is all multiplication, so we're going to divide it out. We're going to divide by pi. You can do this in two steps if it's easier. Okay, that would give you a divided by pi would equal AB. And then you could divide it by b. Okay, and so you'd get a, little a, would equal a over pi b. Okay, so there I've solved the equation for little a. Now you can do it at the same time. I mean, that's the way I would do it. If I was doing it, I would divide by both pi and b at the same time and save myself a step. Okay? So the next thing we got to do is we know that capital A is 15 and b is 2, so we got to find a. So what we're going to do is substitute those into the equation. So little a is going to equal 15 divided by 2 pi. Okay, so I get out my handy-dandy TI-84 plus C Silver Edition graphing calculator, or a reasonable facsimile thereof, and do 15 divided by, 2 pi. And that comes out to approximately 2.387. Okay, so this distance would be 2.387. This distance would also be 2.387. This is the exact value. This is the approximate value. Okay, so like I said, if it was me, I probably wouldn't have this green step in here. I would probably do this all in one step, because the pi cancels and the b cancels, and I get that. And I think that's just easier. Okay, and we'll put this box around our answer, and while we're at it, we'll just move that up there. Okay, so there we go. Now, if I wanted to take 5x plus 2y equals 7, I could solve for x. If we took that down here, 5x plus 2y equals 7, I could solve this for x. So I would subtract 2y. And I would divide by 5. Remember, we divide everything by 5, so x would be negative 2/5 y plus 7/5. Okay, so there I've solved for x. Now I could also solve this thing for y. Okay, I would subtract the 5x from both sides. This is more probably what you've done before because this will put this thing into slope-intercept form. Negative 5 halves x plus 7 halves. Okay, so that's the slope-intercept form of that line. Okay, so there we go. Here's a wicked-looking one. The Pythagorean theorem of baseball is a formula for approximating the number of wins to the total games played. Let R be the number of runs scored during the season. Let A be the number of runs allowed by the opponents. And let W be the number of games won. And T be the number of games played. So there's 4 variables in this equation. They're related by this formula. R squared over R squared plus A squared equals W divided by T. So the first thing that we're asked to do is solve the formula for W. Okay? So we're going to get W by itself. That means we're going to take this thing and we're going to multiply both sides by T. So we're going to get W is going to be T times this stuff. Okay. So there's that. Now, it says last year, 2022, the Seattle Mariners scored 690 runs in 162 games. They also allowed 623 runs. Predict how many games they won according to the Pythagorean theorem of baseball. Okay, so the runs, let's see. Let's start with T. So the wins are going to equal, T is the total number of games played. That's 162. The runs that they scored was 690. So that's going to be, oops, that's not, got an error here. It's not a subscript 2, that's a power of 2. There we go. Okay, so this is going to be 690 squared divided by 690 squared plus the runs that they allowed was 623 squared. Okay, so that should tell me how many wins that they got. Okay. So we got some work to do here. 690 squared. Whoops. 476,100. That's going to go there, and it's going to go down here. Then we got 623 squared. That's 388,129. Okay, so 476,100 divided by, in parentheses, 476,100 plus 388,129. Okay, so W is 162 times 0.550895. Okay? And then we're going to multiply that by 162. And we get W is 89.245. So it predicts slightly more than 89 wins. And they actually won 90. Okay, so pretty close. You can try that with your favorite baseball team and see how it comes out. You can look all those things up online. Okay. Now, the thing that I find amazing is that somebody sat down and figured that thing out. Okay, that tells me somebody was kind of bored. Okay. The formula for the area of a trapezoid is A equals 1/2 h times b1 plus b2. Okay, here's my trapezoid. There's my height. This should have 90-degree angles right there. Okay, and then Here's my first base and my second base. And we're going to solve this thing for B1. So we're going to take the formula, A equals 1/2 H times B1 plus B2. And we're going to switch this thing around. Okay, so the first thing we're going to get rid of is the 1/2. So we're going to take this whole thing, we're going to multiply it by 2 because that's going to cancel out the 1/2. So I get 2A equals H times B1 plus B2. So we're slightly simpler here. Now we're going to divide by H. That's going to cancel that out. So B1 plus B2 equals 2A over H. And now we're just going to subtract B2 from both sides. And we're going to get B1 is going to be 2A over H minus B2. And there you go. So it's just manipulating these things, changing them around. This is the same equation as that is, it's just solved for a different variable. Okay. The Pythagorean theorem is a squared plus b squared equals c squared. Solve for b. Okay. So we're going to take our a squared plus b squared equals c squared. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to get rid of the a squared. So we get b squared is equal to c squared minus a squared. Now here's the trick. It said solve for b. It didn't say solve for b squared. So how do I get rid of a square? Well, I square root both sides. Okay, so I get b here. Now be careful. This is not c minus a. You cannot simplify this. Okay, because that minus sign messes everything up. So you're just going to leave it like that, the square root of c squared minus a squared, and you're done. Okay, got this lovely little assignment. It's got a whole bunch of different formulas on it from different things. I'm going to let you solve for the variables that are indicated. Have fun with that, and I will see you guys later.